All right, we're back for another edition of Reeling Them In. My name is Pat Burnham, and I'm joined by Osceola recruiting analyst Charles Fishbein. And Fish, head coach Mike Norvell and Florida State reeled in a big time commitment last night when they flipped Ohio State 2023 quarterback commit Brock Glenn. He now is announced that he will be signing with Florida State. Just your thoughts on the fact that they flipped him from Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, it's anytime you can beat a school like Ohio State or one of the top programs in the country for a player at a position of need, it's a huge get. I think it's just a big get in general because I'm of the belief you need to sign one quarterback every year out of the high school ranks. I don't care if it's a developmental kid and you signed a big time kid the year before. Just take one every year. You never know. We've seen this so many times where guys that aren't even highly rated come out of high school, they develop, and they end up going to the NFL. So this is a big time get. Florida State needed a quarterback, and they got a pretty good one.
Yeah, Glenn is a four-star, rated as a four-star prospect, ranked as the 12th best pro-style quarterback in the 2023 recruiting class by Rivals. 6'2", 190. He has completed 74 of 126 passes in his senior season for 1,400 yards, 18 touchdowns, one interception. And, listen, he is talked about as a pro-style passer. We've both watched his film. He's a better athlete than what you think. He's run for 443 yards and 7 touchdowns on 45 attempts this year. Just talk a little bit about your initial thoughts, having watched him last night and today a little bit.
Yeah, the one thing you can see on film is he likes to push the ball down the field. Norvell likes to go for the big plays. We've seen that this year. Having that ability to get those 2 or 3 plays down the field that you can stretch the defense and create those big plays. He has a very strong arm. You can see that on film. There's some other things we'll discuss, but the one thing he is able to do is push the ball down the field and create the big play.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's an above average athlete. He has a quick release. Now these deep passes that we see are thrown with very good touch, and really kind of effortlessly. He does not labor with these long throws. I think where we compare and contrast him to probably is AJ Duffy, right? He's the last kid that we really evaluated. He's here at Florida State. I do think that at least how he holds the football, quick release. I do think he's got some advanced mechanics in that part of his game for a high school player. What do you see from him mechanically as a prospect?
Yeah, I mean he looks. I'm watching him a little more and more on the side here. He's a little similar to like a Sam Howell. He's got all the mechanics need a little work. He does throw off he throws off base a little bit. Where he doesn't always lead the receivers on the shorter throws. So I think on the mechanics side, he could work on that. I think his footwork is the one thing that could really help him out. You'll see sometimes his feet cross when he's releasing the ball. Those are little things that Norvell and his staff have done a very good job with Jordan, improving his mechanics. I even think you've seen the mechanics for Tate improve over time. I think even with AJ Duffy, you'll see that as they develop. They've done a very good job of doing that part of the game. So I'm not concerned with the mechanics and footwork. That's stuff that could be worked on over time. And, once he gets that down, I think he has the tools to be a very good starter at Florida State.
Yeah, I was impressed with the way he holds himself in the pocket. He stands up tall. He does have good feet. You're right. There's probably some things he needs to work on with footwork when he's throwing the ball. But as far as buying time in the pocket, staying in the pocket, looking downfield, he does have good pocket awareness. What were your impressions of him there?
Yeah, you could tell he is very confident with his ability. You could see that he'll sit in the pocket. He'll even slide up in the pocket when there's pressure. So that's good. I don't like to see quarterbacks drifting backwards because they could drift into sacks. He has a good feel inside the pocket. He has a lot of the tools that you want to see in a kid that plays at the Division I level. A lot of the other stuff is developmental. We've seen it many times. I remember watching Christian Ponder at the summer camp, and he wasn't good at all. And 2-3 years later, he's getting drafted in the first round. That's coaching. I think you could do that with this kid that if he's coachable, the physical tools are there.
Yeah, well, you would think that he is probably coachable, Mike, and them talking about fit all the time. So and I'm sure he's got to see how Mike Norvell and his staff interact with their players by this point. Listen, the one thing you don't see is you don't see him throw a lot of bullets over the middle, right? So just how strong do you think his arm is? Like I said, he seems to throw the deep pass with ease, but you don't see a lot of deep outs from another hash, those kind of things in his highlights. Do you think he's got the ability to do that?
Yeah, I think he has the arm strength to get it to the deep outs. That's the one thing we've talked about with the quarterbacks as far as opening up the offense. I really think that's part of the game that's missing out of Florida State's offense is being able to push it to those far outs outside the hash marks. Because if you could throw to the sideline and be able to get those out routes into your offense, you're basically, there's not a part of the field that the defense they won't struggle if you're able to do that. So I think it's very important to have that ability. He looks like he has that ability to make those outs, those far out routes, and those passes outside the hash marks.
Well, obviously, Mike and his staff have known about this guy. He is from Memphis. He's from a prep school there in Memphis, Tennessee. So they knew about him as a younger player, as a freshman. How much, Florida State's hot on the field right now, and I think that's kind of led to them being hot on the recruiting trail. How much do you think of this had to do with the kind of season that Florida State is having at 8-3 and a chance to go 9-3 with the win over Florida on Friday? How much of this do you think was the fact that Mike and Tony had a previous relationship with this kid from their time at Memphis, or was it a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both, but I personally don't think this kid commits if Florida State's not having the season they're having. A lot of these players just wanted to see them do well on the field. You can tell a kid, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, but until it actually happens, what are they going to believe just because you did it at another program? They're only looking at that moment. That's how these kids are. They don't have, a lot of them don't have that vision of what they did or what they can do. It's like, show me now. And they have shown these prospects now that they can win and win at a pretty high level. I mean, they're 1 win away from 9 wins, and that's a great season for Florida State this year. That's
an unbelievable season. Yes, it's amazing how far they've come. And listen, we've always talked about the fact that it's not these alternative uniforms that attract kids. It's what you do on the football field. And not only is Florida State playing great on offense, they're winning a lot of football games. And I think that, coupled with the fact that they had an existing relationship, certainly helped. But I do think that what's gone on the field this year had more to do with it than anything else. And listen, every head coach I've ever worked for says winning answers all the questions in recruiting.
It shuts everybody up. Anybody listen, when you're recruiting and you've been in that room, nobody can negative recruit Florida State this year. They're not getting in trouble. They're performing on the field. Their players are exceeding expectations. They're developing these guys. All the words that everybody likes to use, they've hit every one of those notes. And that's why these kids want to go to Florida State this year.
Well, listen, they have moved up to the 21st ranked recruiting class, according to the Rivals.com rankings. He is their 16th commitment for this particular class, either high school or junior college. It was a national story in the college football recruiting front. When anytime you flip a guy from Ohio State to Florida State, it's a national story. Is he the kind of kid that can help attract other high-profile prospects and or help you retain and keep this class intact?
Well, I mean, he was committed to Ohio State, so he had to be pretty good. Ryan Day's done a very good job of evaluating and developing quarterbacks at Ohio State. Even the ones that don't play Joe Burrow end up pretty darn good. So, it's a good thing to have, is that this kid was recruited to a bigger name program right now, at least. I think it's a big time get. Quarterbacks are so important. I have a thing that you got to take one every year. And this kid, this isn't just a live arm that they're going to bring in there and he's going to be doing scout. I mean, he's going to have a chance to compete for a starting job, possibly even next year, even though he's raw. The other two guys, as talented as they've shown, that doesn't mean they're guaranteed a starting job. If this kid's willing to come in, work hard, you never know what could happen.
Well, I do want to ask you that question. How do you think this commitment could impact the quarterback room as it pertains to the 2023 season? When you have the Jordan Travis has the option to come back. Obviously, Tate and AJ are still underclassmen. Now you've got 4 scholarship quarterbacks potentially coming back. We all know how the portals change the game when kids aren't playing. There's another kid in the room now, and you got Luke Kremenhalt coming in 2024. How do you see this playing out in the quarterback room?
Well, the Jordan Travis decision is going to decide a lot as far as who stays and goes. I think if he leaves, Florida State will go to the portal and try to get an experienced starter, because it's nothing against Duffy or Tate. They have not played a whole lot of snaps, and I don't know if Norvell will be comfortable enough to hand over the reins of the offense next year. I mean, they have a lot of momentum. As far as this year, they could possibly go 9-3. You play the wrong quarterback, all of a sudden you're looking at 6 wins again. You don't want to put yourself in that position if a kid's not experienced enough or you don't feel comfortable enough with them next year. Maybe those guys are still a year away, which is very possible. You don't want to put yourself in that position. Jordan coming or going is going to have a big impact on, I believe, that quarterback room, because if he does leave and they bring in a transfer, I think you'll see at least one of the quarterbacks, either Duffy or Tate, leave as well.
So you could, all right. Yeah, listen, it's going to be fascinating to see how this whole recruiting transfer portal thing works out between now and the end of next spring. Fish, I appreciate you joining us as always. Obviously, with early National Signing Day coming up quickly, December 21st, a little bit under a month away from that, we will certainly be doing more of these segments. And, of course, a big day off the field for Mike Norvell and his staff as they land the commitment of 4-star quarterback Brock Glenn from Memphis, Tennessee, move up to number 21 in the Rivals rankings for 2023. And listen, the Noles are staying hot, and I would imagine a win over Florida will even make the recruiting trail that much hotter. But, Fish, thanks for joining us, and we'll be back again with another episode of Reeling Them In soon. Thanks for watching.